Hello, everybody, and welcome to Twitch Numbers. I am your host, Colin Connors. With me tonight is actually a very small panel to break down the penultimate episode of Survivor Game Changers. I'm joined by the beautiful Stephen Lehman.
Yo.
He's hiding in the darkness right now, but he's still beautiful, trust me. And, of course, our special guest from Survivor Cook Islands, the amazing Billy Garcia.
Hey, fans.
All right, guys, so we have a whole bunch of stuff to break down, dissect, and analyze before the finale of Survivor Game Changers. Oh, my God, it's happening so quickly. I feel like just yesterday I was crying that Tony was voted out, and now tonight I'm crying in confusion on what exactly just happened in the double boot up tonight. So, Billy, I'm going to first kind of break it down with you. Last week, we talked about how much we hated these kind of rushed penultimate episodes and finales with, Millennials versus Gen X's having a double boot and a six-person finale. Game Changers, double boot, six-person finale. Has your thoughts changed or anything, or did tonight just feel super rushed to you? Because I know it did to me.
Well, I've often said that I'm a big proponent of supersized episodes of an hour and a half or better. That I feel every episode of Survivor should be 90 minutes or better. Today, we got the exact opposite. We got mini episodes. It felt like we got a pair of 20-minute episodes. And man, I don't know about you, but when I eat Snickers, I want the supersized Snickers, not the fun size.
Yeah. Well, as a big bone gentleman, as we've all been saying to each other before we started, was that we do like this bigger stuff, and it is just it's a little frustrating to invest so much time and energy and do pre-show podcasts and do analysis. And I don't know about you guys, but you probably think about it randomly when you're at work. And then suddenly you have 8 people left, and it feels like that's an entire tribe on a regular season of Survivor, an old school season. And then suddenly they just rush to the end. It's just frustrating, right, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned this. I never like the engorged finales that we seem to have. Like, a bit of a throwback here. Redemption Island originally had 8 people still at the end, with 4 people on Redemption Island and people in the game. It seemed to me that I don't even like 6. I'm not even the biggest fan of 5 in the finale.
Well, you're breaking up a little bit.
But yeah, I don't like these large finales.
And that thing is 5 and 6 is just too much. I mean, 5, can kind of make it work. But anyways, it's just kind of heartbreaking. So we are going to do our best to actually talk about what happened kind of within the confines of the episode. So Billy, Cirie and Andrea were both given anti-Sarah confessionals kind of right off the bat. And Sarah is someone who we've been saying kind of for the past 2 or 3 weeks could potentially win this game. Now, Cirie and Andrea both said, hey, we got to get Sarah out. She's sneaky. But Sarah's still here after all that stuff. What do you make of all that?
She reminded me a lot of Stephanie LaGrasso in Guatemala, where it's get to the end at all costs, and it doesn't matter how many throats you split along the way. And then when she gets there, sure, she'll get some respect. But I just don't see, with all the bridges she's burning, how Sarah could win. Just like Stephanie LaGrasso in Guatemala.
Oh, I like that analysis. That Sarah's going to make it to the end, but she might not win. Because I believe that's where we were at last week. But Stephen, this week she has burned even more bridges. I mean, with the whole Cirie thing, with blindsiding Andrea. Do you think that's still the case, or do you think kind of what we heard from the Survivor players tonight was, hey, we hope the jury respects people who played the game?
I think it's a bit of both. I think they included at least Andrea's commentary and Aubrey's for a reason. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't just have Andrea saying, what was it? It was something to the effect of, if you blindside someone after being their best friend the entire day, they're not going to be happy. And Aubrey commented that the first time, or the first feeling after you get voted out is a human thing. It's not like a robotic, like done this game thing better. It's feel like, to quote Michaela here, you feel like Boo Boo the Fool.
And I think that's important to realize.
I think they include that.
Well, yeah, and I think I agree with you. They included that to kind of say, hey, maybe the jury isn't as friendly to Sarah as we think. Now, but Billy, though, do you think she could scrape up? Because, I mean, let's say it's in the final 3 and maybe she gets 5 votes, but then the other votes split amongst everyone else. Do you think that could be a situation where we're in?
It's possible, but I just the way the foreshadowing is going along here, and the way the edit is to where she's too cutthroat and burning so many bridges. It looks like she's gonna get chewed out at that final tribal council if she makes it.
And that's something else, is that she might not make it with all this crazy stuff going on. So what I think what we're gonna do, because the next week is the finale episode, we are just gonna talk about kind of like who's left and what's gonna go happen with their games and what's their path to the end. So the first person we're gonna actually talk about, we're talking a little bit about Cirie. She's gonna come up more and more because she's kind of like the sun, I feel like, right now, and everyone else is kind of just rotating around her craziness. So, Steven, we have Aubrey. I know you absolutely love and adore her. And tonight she finally got some screen times, and it wasn't just because of immunity. However, she's still not being shown as able to take control of the game. And also her edit was so non-existent up until this episode. I don't think she has much of a shot of winning. What is your pitch to how she can win this game? Or do you think, it's over for her?
I think if Aubrey gets to the end, she can win. I don't see a path where she gets to the end, though, is the problem.
And
particularly as we saw in the preview. We saw in the preview, but we know Ty has 2 idols. Troyzan has 1 idol. Cirie has a legacy advantage. That's 4 people safe right there. So that leaves 2 people on the outs. If Aubrey's one of them, she's not in a great spot. So I think Aubrey is not in a ideal situation coming the finale.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something we've been talking about a lot, which is this whole thing of at the final 5, because that's the last time you can play immunity idols. That's the last time you can. That's when final 6 is immunity idols.
Yeah.
No, final 6 is the legacy advantage.
Oh, I thought it was both were at 6, but it might be.
Well, either way, if they're both at
final 5 is the idols.
Okay. Well, either way, what I'm saying is with all this stuff floating around, it is very, very easy for us to enter in a situation kind of like we saw in Cambodia, where someone just gets kind of eliminated by default. And I really think an Aubrey could be the, receiving of that elimination by default. Yeah. And Billy, I think that would, in a way, kind of go with her storyline of, Aubrey always trying really hard, but everything is coming up short.
Yeah, that could be part of the storyline. I agree that she's gonna have that kind of a fall. Will it be all the advantages played at once? Maybe, or could it be that she knows her numbers up, she goes into the challenge and she falls just short of winning immunity to someone like a Brad who seems to be on a roll.
And that's a fair point. Either way, Aubrey's storyline has kind of been, she can't quite get the apple. And if she would have gotten a bigger edit, I would say maybe she does get the apple in the end, and she still could. Because, maybe she's sitting next to Cirie and the jury just absolutely eviscerates her, but we don't know. But either way, I think things still aren't looking super good for Aubrey. And speaking of, Aubrey not having great luck, Cirie also, oh my goodness, Billy, how much time do we spend pontificating and just talking about how Cirie is the best Survivor mastermind and she's so smart, but she didn't read the fine print. And what I want to know is, Billy, do you think production should have told her the fine print, or was what they did was okay?
They should definitely not have told her the fine print, because that's the point of having the fine print on there. Yeah. Is the reward players that pay attention and punish the players in a way who didn't pay attention. And in this case, Cirie was so giddy about getting that advantage, and she better use it because she was given it, And old school players always play when they have it. She didn't read it. She was too overzealous. And that has to be her biggest blunder in her career.
Yep. Steven, you agree. So what I want to know is, what is Cirie's recovery for this? Because, Michaela was her number 1 ally, and she's gone. What can Cirie do to regain? Does she try to regain Sarah's trust and work with that? Does she just say screw it and work with Brad Troyzan? Does Cirie have a shot to get to the end? Keeping in mind she's not the best at immunity challenges. Billy, you're saying no.
I think her game got nuked tonight. And this isn't Indiana Jones where you can hide in a refrigerator and survive a nuclear blast. This is Survivor, where when you get nuked, even if you don't die immediately, the radiation will make you die next or the one after. And I just don't see her making it to the end at this point.
And that's something that I was thinking about just now, Billy, was when the episode ended, I was like, wow, this is going to be chaos. And I thought, people in chaos often look for the easy answer, so to calm down. The moment Cirie doesn't have immunity, and she might be the first victim of the finale, they're going to go, oh, wait, why don't we just vote out Cirie? Get us all one step further. Steven, could I be wrong, or is Cirie is she done? And I know you're a huge fan of her.
Oh my God, I love Cirie. She's probably my number one of all time. But, like, I'll say this. Cirie's another one where I think if she makes it to the end, she's going to win. Do I think she's making it to the end, though? Unfortunately not. I think...
Well, I just can't wait to read all the exit press with Cirie about the non-transferable, because when Probst kind of interrupted her, I was really confused. I was like, what? Because it didn't seem like she could make that kind of mistake, but...
Well, the thing that I actually picked up on was that it didn't seem like Sarah was all that bothered by it until Cirie was like, oh, I'm stealing Sarah's vote. And then Sarah was like, oh, it's non-transferable. It's non-transferable. Ha, ha, ha. I got you.
Well, and then I guess...
before, I think...
Well, maybe she's...
Before, I think Sarah would have been...
Go ahead, Steven.
Seemed like, Cirie, I'm giving you this because I trust you, blah, 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 blah. But then when Cirie was like, oh, I'm stealing Sarah's vote, that's when Sarah was like, oh, got you, it's non-transferable.
And maybe she was just seeing what she does with it because she knew it was non-transferable, and maybe she was hoping Probst would interrupt her. Because here's the thing. Sarah did, what she did with Cirie last week, which I think, Billy, you talked about it, the reason she had that big face with Cirie being blindsided was to get a legacy advantage. That kind of worked because, it didn't actually amount to them launching an offensive against her. But Billy, maybe she thought, hey, let's see where this goes, and maybe, Cirie would dig her own grave.
That was exactly what she's a cop. She's used to following her suspect to see if the suspect will, do something incriminating. So she played it off like a cop. She waited to see what Cirie was going to do and let Cirie finish, hanging herself, putting the noose around her neck, and then kicking out the chair, and then going, ha ha, you just hung yourself. This was total police tactics.
And it's just kind of heartbreaking that this happens to Cirie, I got to say. Because, we all love her so much. But when you make a mistake, you make a mistake. And I don't think this ruins her accomplishments she's done in the past. But damn, does it hurt right now. So Cirie, we kind of were saying she doesn't really have a shot. We've already discussed Aubrey. The next person we're going to talk about is actually Ty. So, Billy, after the vote was stolen from Ty, and then Ty didn't play an idol, I actually thought Ty was going home. And I said a swear word at my computer, because how could Ty be so dumb? And I was actually going to tell you guys about how I was thinking about maybe trying to do a retrospective on how Ty's actually much more perceptive than people think he is. But then it turned out Ty wasn't going home. But, Billy, what do you do if you're in Ty's situation to actually win this game? Because I think he has a couple routes to the end. But is there a way he could convince people to, vote for him?
I think Ty kind of gave away what he's thinking when he was posed the question of the whole going on a jury, and he was exact opposite of what Andrea and Aubrey was saying. That he felt like he hopes that people respect a person's game no matter how cutthroat they were, and the eye rolls that he got from having that opinion, I think pretty much sums up that it doesn't matter who Ty's going to sit next to at the end. I think the jury's pretty much already out on whether he wins or loses, and I think it's a loss for Ty.
Well, and keep in mind something that was talked about last season, or the last time Ty played, was that English is a second language for him, so it is kind of harder for him to articulate certain points. And I really think that, if English was his first language, he would be much more adept at explaining himself. However, I think his instincts are absolutely fantastic. And he made a comment, I think, 2 episodes ago when he said, this is the first time I've ever been to tribal council where I felt nervous. And to be playing to as many tribal councils as he has and not really ever being nervous of being eliminated, that is pretty impressive because he's, typically right. And he was right not to play the idol. But, Steven, what are your thoughts on kind of Ty as a whole and if he can win this game?
I mean, I love Ty because I relate to him. We're both very gentle souls, so I like the guy a lot. But I don't see a path where Ty can win. I think Maybe if it's like a final two against Troyzan, he can win. I don't. Even then, I think it's iffy. Um, I just think people, for whatever reason, they don't necessarily respect Ty enough, and that's not like a dig at Ty. They just don't see him as someone who takes charge and as someone who they want to vote for necessarily. But I personally, I think Ty's a great player.
Well, and that's something else maybe, and I can ponder this to you guys, is Ty's gentle personality is why I think he's able to have such a great social game and why he's so good at being able to be perceptive because everyone comes to him feeling comfortable. But at the same time, that's not necessarily a position that people respect and want to vote for in the end to win. Do you think that could be the case, Billy?
Yeah, I think the gentle personality helps. I don't think it hurts. I think what hurts him is, you mentioned, like you said, that English is a second language and he doesn't get to express himself in the way he would like. And I also think what hurts him is that he does tend to make very cutthroaty moves when he feels he needs to. Like he has this unique ability to be able to like flip the switch, and he goes from being very gentle and soft-spoken and very caring to all of a sudden being very cold and calculated.
Right.
And that unnerves people. And it pisses people off.
And I'm glad you said that because I think that's very important for people to realize is that if you're like always the gentle soul and you're taking care of the chickens and you stab someone in the back, the person who gets stabbed in the back or the person who's stabbed in the back is going to take it a lot harder than if you're known as the guy who's the cutthroat who's going to stab you in the back. So I think maybe like Ty's gentle nature helps him make the bonds, but it makes it a lot harder for people that he votes off to actually want to vote for him to win the game.
Right.
So
he seems to have a hard time straddling the line.
Yes. And maybe eventually he'll get it right because, I mean, I got to say he kind of impressed me tonight a little bit by not playing that idol. At first I thought he was an idiot, and then I was like, oh, wow.
Well, to be fair, Sarah did also, like, in the various scenes of people scrambling around at Tribal, we did have a scene of Sarah running over to Ty. She sort of took her advantage back. So it's also possible Sarah was just like, hey, like, this is what's happening, you're good.
But even then, I still would have probably played my idol, just in case. But that's just me.
Oh, yeah, if you have two idols, I would have played at least one.
Yeah, I definitely would have played one. So maybe I'm projecting a good move onto him because if someone takes my vote, Billy, and this is something we talked about, about the vote stealing being overpowered, if someone takes your vote, you play your idol that you have because, better be safe than sorry. So we've kind of dissected Ty. The next person we're going to talk about, of course, is Troyzan. I don't know if he got a confessional tonight, but I forget who. Someone said he was likable. And the thing is, if Troyzan had been given a fair edit, I would think he actually had a shot at winning this. But because he's getting such little screen time, maybe he gets a few votes in the end. Maybe he gets rocked out. I don't know, Billy. What is Troyzan's fate? And is it a reflection of a game that he's played? Has he played like it's not a great game this season? Or is he like Cirie in Worlds Apart where they just didn't have enough time for him?
No, I think what he's doing is flying under the radar a lot. He did something different in that he spoke at tribal council this go around. Usually, he's one of those question dodgers at tribal council during the season. But yeah, I think he's trying to play the under the radar game, and in a first timer season, depending on how the ebb and flow is, it could work. But in a game changer season, like I don't see how people could respect an under the radar unless it's a final two, which I don't think it will be, and he's sitting next to someone who the jury has no respect for whatsoever.
Right.
Which, I don't see that scenario playing out.
Yeah. So there'd be 4 tribal councils and a final tribal council in order for Troyzan to win, which that's probably not going to happen. But Steven, what are your takes on overall Troyzan this season? His kind of evolution. Do you think it's bad gameplay that's getting him, or not confessionals, or do you think it's just this time necessity? And does he have a shot at all of taking this home?
I think he's kind of irrelevant to the story, and that's not like a dig at him. I just think that the story of the season is not one that he's really involved in. And so he'll pop up when they need, bits from him because he is, a finale player. But I don't think Troyzan is central to the story. I think Troyzan's role is in this season is one where you could sort of take him out of it, and you could plug in almost any other player, and the same nothing would
And
change.
it just sucks because I was somewhat of a Troyzan fan in one world, and I definitely feel like this season he got his redemption from being that type of cocky, arrogant asshole. But in this, but he didn't get much confessionals. But I did think he grew a lot as a person, and I think he actually matured as a player too. Because Troyzan that played in one world could never be under the radar. It just so happens this was the wrong season to be it in. And also, he is being overshadowed by Brad Culpepper, who's the next person we're going to talk about. So, Billy, tonight we actually saw a little tiny bit of Brad Culpepper being a little bit, I guess I would say slightly arrogant. I understand, emotions are high. But, we saw kind of a little bit of I think the internet's going to say he's a giant asshole and we should all hate him for forever. I'm going to say he got caught up in the moment. But even then.
Yeah. I don't think he was being arrogant. I think he felt his number was up.
Mm-hmm.
Like that he had no shot in hell unless he'd have won, and he won. And holy shit, he won. Like that to me is like he's a football player. It's like getting a sack.
Mm-hmm.
He got a sack in the big game. He's gonna get up and he's gonna fist pump and he's gonna woo-hoo it, It's so I don't think he was being an ass or arrogant. He was being a football player. Having said that, do I think he's gonna win? I think he's one of two players that look good to win.
Okay.
So,
and the other one being Cirie?
The other one's being Cirie, and we'll get to her in a second because hers is very provisional. It depends on the jury. But Brad is looking like, I'm trying to put myself in the place of what the jury actually sees and hears. And Brad is looking like the guy that every time the chips are down, he just, he somehow, dodges a bullet, finds a way into the majority, wins the challenge when he needs to. He seems to come up big whenever he needs to come up big.
He changes the game when he needs to change the game, right? When he needs to change the game.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Being a game changer. So it's and then what I like about it is that his downs, as down as they are to the viewer at home, from the jury perspective, they don't seem as down. Like it seems like he's somehow able to. It seems like his vote somehow finds a way to be the person voting out, and I don't know why that's not making the edit. That he seems to be on the end. Is it a perception thing? Is it that they're coming to him and telling him? I don't know. Something's going on that we're not seeing. That he seems to find a way to be in the vote of the vote out.
Well,
I don't know.
And in Blood versus Water, it's important to realize that the edit did not do him justice because he was actually extremely liked by everyone at camp, but they wanted to kind of play him up as the bully. And like I said, I believe Mario Lanza, who is the funny 115, does a fantastic ride with Brad Culpepper because I was defending him during Blood versus Water and everyone hated me. And I didn't defend him as a good Survivor player, but I did say, hey, he's clearly not this monster you make him out to be. So, Steven, you're someone who I expected to not like Brad Culpepper's, slightly blowing off steam tonight, but you're giving that a pass. Is that something, we're getting from me tonight?
I've said I've done a full renaissance on Brad Culpepper upon a Bloodwater rewatch, and this season I like Brad Culpepper a lot. Again, a lot of it is because I'm a big Monica fan, so he's doing what's best for Monica too. No, I definitely like Brad a lot more this season. I think the thing that I keep coming back to,
Can he win? Can he win, though? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. The thing that's holding me back is a storyline issue. And it's because the storyline I'm getting from his edit is referencing Monica so much and how Monica did this, did that, did this, did that. I feel like his storyline is almost channeling Monica in the sense in that I think he could get to the end. I don't know if he wins, though. But maybe that's just me reading into the storyline or the edit too much.
And that's the case because, maybe he's bringing up Monica because Monica played Cirie before and they like to reference each other. So where we're kind of at, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is that we have Brad and Cirie as the people to kind of watch next week, with Aubrey being a little bit of a dark horse, and sadly everyone else being tossed by the wayside. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think with Sarah, she's burnt so many bridges that I think the edit, we're talking about the edit. I think the edit is trying to explain why she played so well, and she's gonna get Russell Hantz and Samoa.
She's gonna get 4 jury votes or 2 jury votes.
Yeah, like she's gonna. If you remember, Russell Hantz and Samoa, he sat next to a Natalie White, and most players are like, Natalie White, how could they give it to her? Not most players, but most viewers were that way. And so I think the producers are aware of that, and they're trying to give us a better story of the same kind of scenario playing out as to why someone who had all these advantages and played them and played well, even got Cirie to out herself and to put Cirie in a bad situation is no small feat. But it feels like we're seeing the story play out as to why Sarah is gonna come up short. And and if she's gonna come up short, then who's the likeliest person to come up short too? It's got to be Culpepper.
And what's interesting is because I've heard a really fantastic Survivor theory that, there's all this talk about winners edit, and even though that's been kind of somewhat disproven just based on logistics, is that Survivor likes to show a winner in 2 ways. It's a story of why either this person won, think Ethan, think a Cochran, or why someone lost. Think, Michelle losing to Aubrey, Natalie White losing to, or Russell Hantz losing to Natalie White. And in that case, I actually think, Billy, you're making a good point. And what I find most interesting is this is, as a Survivor host, one of my more controversial stances where I don't think juries are ever truly wrong, but I actually think more of an argument can be made about Russell winning Samoa than people like to recognize. Heroes versus villains, I got to give it to Sandra. But when it comes to Samoa, look at that. Seeing Steven's getting mad at me. I think a very good argument can be made.
I'm not mad at you. You're just wrong.
All right, well, that's fine. We're not going to get into when I do the big Russell episode, me and you are going to talk, and you can just constantly just say wrong to me over and over again. I mean, I admit that Natalie played a better social game and deserved to win. I'm just saying the argument's there. So
you know what? I think with Russell, just real quick, I think he was a victim of the era. If he'd have played later that way, in a later era, he probably would have been given the win. But that later era would have never happened if he'd have never played that way in the first place. So,
and that's an interesting point. But also, I will say, the thing that kind of diffuses all the Russell talk, and Steven will be glad that I say this, is that Tony played a very similar game to Russell, but Tony had a better social game, and he was given the win. That's kind of the, some of the anti-Russell talk. Go ahead, Billy.
My take is that Tony and Russell would have been interchangeable. If Tony would have played that same game in Samoa, he'd have lost because of the era. Whereas Russell, if he'd have played his same game for Samoa, over in I forget Tony's season's name.
Cagayan.
Yeah. Thank you, Cagayan. If he'd have played his game in Cagayan, Russell would have won it because of the era. But Cagayan's era would have never happened if Russell wouldn't have played the way he did in Samoa. That era would have worked out differently.
And I think you make a good point, because I always talk about kind of like Survivor, because we're in the postmodern era of Survivor, and I swear to God, one day someone else is going to say that, and it's going to catch on that we're in postmodern era of Survivor. Steven, we're not going to talk more about Russell tonight. I'm sorry, but here's what we're going to do. All you viewers out there, 1 week from now, plus 1 hour, because it's going to be plus 2 hours, because it's a 3-hour long finale, I'm going to be here. Steven's going to be here. Billy's going to be here, and everyone else is going to be here, and a few surprise guests, if I can actually make it work this time, are going to be here. And we're going to break down the finale of Survivor Game Changers. Finale episodes are always tons of fun. We talk about everything. We talk about everything that happened this season. We talk about stuff that we think is going to happen next season. We talk about who's going to come back. It's just a giant fun mess. Come join us, because we're going to talk for like 3 or 4 hours. It's always forever. We're going to have a few beers. It's going to be great. So everyone, please join us for the finale. So before I wrap things up, Billy, is there anything you want to say? Is there anything you want to promote?
You know what? Instead of promoting something, I'm gonna get up on a little soapbox here. I haven't done it all season.
Okay, get on a soapbox. Get on a soapbox real quick.
All right, real quick. A lot of people on the internet are kind of trashing this season. Oh, it's not as good as other returning player seasons. And I even heard Varner completely ruined the season. And how could anybody continue to watch it? And And I say to all of that, I say, that's a pile of BS, man. These players, they basically are putting on a great game that's hard to do when you're up against other players that have played for 3-4 times, and yet we're seeing great gameplay. Tonight we saw Sarah basically put a carrot out, and Cirie did something uncharacteristic, went for the carrot, and it completely blew up her game. We're seeing all sorts of great stuff. I'm not going to go through all the great moves, but
we'll go through that and we'll recap the whole season.
Yeah, we will recap this whole season next time, but I just disagree with all the people trashing this season. I think Game Changers, they may not have deserved, some of the people deserved the title of Game Changer coming into the season, but a lot of people are earning it now, that like Culpepper's earning it. And Sarah's earning it.
And I'll say this to pick back off what he said. Where do I rank Game Changers as returning season? I like it more than Second Chances. Anyways, and we are going to talk more about that on the next episode. So I want to thank you, Steven, for joining us, and I want to thank Billy for joining us as well. Have a good night.